I'm May Whitaker, 68, and I don't ignore a yellow quilt being buried under coffee grounds. Tessa Monroe, my daughter-in-law, jammed the lid, glanced up and down the street, and hustled inside. I crossed, flipped the bin, fished the quilt out by a corner, and belted it into my passenger seat like evidence. On my bed, I smoothed the squares. Wrong stitch. A ridge the size of a deck of cards. Thread too clean. Color too perfect. I took the sewing snips from my nightstand, parted the seam, and slid out a black phone that felt like a cold fish in my hand. Junk drawer charger, third try, tiny lightning bolt. No passcode. Straight to home. Gallery first. Rooftop bar. Hotel mirror. Beach sunrise. Tessa's lavender dress. The man wasn't my son. Date stamps. The year before Daniel fell down his own stairs. Messages under C. Fast and needy, then sharp as a box cutter. He won't divorce. I need him gone. Don't text that. A week of silence, then a note. Tuesday, 2:45. Home alone. Make it look like a stumble. My hands tingled. I opened screenshots. Life insurance payout, $500,000. 3 months after we buried Daniel. Wire transfer to Colin Price, $180,000. One more folder. Tiny thumbnails. I tapped. Tripod angle in my son's living room. Same couch he assembled on a football Sunday. Tessa and the same man rehearsing a kiss, a walkthrough, a line. Trip. Hit here. It wasn't an accident. It was a plan. I called my neighbor, Ruth Caldwell. She arrived in gym shoes, legal pad tucked under her arm. We printed everything from the phone that would print, sealed the handset in a Ziploc, and made a list big enough to hurt a kitchen table. Find Colin Price, scrape Tessa's socials, pull Daniel's policy, recheck Lily's birth record. Tessa's timeline the year Lily arrived never made sense. 2 months always slipped. We hunted Tessa's friends list for C names. There he sat. Colin Price, site supervisor at a grading company. Public post stalled 3 years back. LinkedIn still breathing. We clipped faces, employers, old comments. Ruth, pencil tapping. If the dates are off for Lily, who's her mother? I pulled the birth certificate Tessa brought for your scrapbook. Not Tessa Monroe on the line. Hannah Reed. Phone? Hunch? Not enough. I texted Tessa for a half hour with Lily. She said no. I said I had presents and would be there in 5. She relented. We ran the play. I took the couch, poured juice, asked about preschool. Ruth asked for a restroom and ghosted up the stairs. 10 minutes later, she drifted back, brushing her sleeve against mine. Time to go. We were halfway down the driveway when she slid a manila envelope from her tote. Inside, Daniel's policy, Tessa's sole beneficiary, paid in full. Bank statements with the $180,000 wire to Colin Price, and a hospital copy of Lily's birth record, mother, Hannah Reed, the hospital where Tessa worked. I typed Hannah Reed missing into local news at 2 a.m. Up came a plea from 4 years ago. Another article, 3 years back. Remains identified. Ruled accident. Cause, blunt force trauma. Found in a scrub lot owned by a subcontractor tied to Colin's company. The screen lit my face like a police photo. We walked into the precinct at 9 sharp with a timeline, a quilt, a Ziploc, and a stack of prints. Detective Carter Mills listened like a metronome. No interruptions. No soft words. He said he needed an exhumation on Daniel. Subpoenas on the wires. Surveillance on Tessa so she didn't bolt. You won't get Lily today, he added. Not without a court order. Then move fast, I told him, and signed the intake forms like contracts with thunder. 48 hours later, they brought Daniel up. Second autopsy. faint oval bruises on both wrists, grip marks consistent with restraint before a fall. The scrub lot where Hannah was found traced through a dummy LLC to Collins Company. Mills flagged Tessa at TSA and asked for her travel history. He pulled Colin in for a chat. Colin tried swagger, left with sweat at his temples, called a lawyer, called back anyway. Tessa felt the water rising. A realtor I'd never met phoned to ask if I was considering a quick sale of Daniel's place. Cash, no inspections. I forwarded the number to Mills. A man in a polo showed at my porch to evaluate grandparent visitation. He had a clip-on badge and verbs that didn't match his shoes. I held up my phone camera. All contact through counsel. You're recorded. Leave. He did. 3 mornings later, TSA pinged Mills. Tessa at the airport with Lily. One-way tickets. 2 passports that glowed wrong under the lamp. $400,000 in fresh bills hidden in hard-sided luggage. They took her to a room. Family Services took my granddaughter to a safer one. Mills called. Bring your ID. Come now. The county playroom had a cracked bead maze and sea turtles painted on a wall. Lily barreled into me, arms around my ribs, heartbeat like a sparrow. I counted her breaths until mine matched. A caseworker named Eliza slid a temporary guardianship packet across a low table. Ruth read over my shoulder. I signed on tabs. That night Lily slept on my couch with a stuffed bear under her chin. I washed the yellow quilt, stitched the honest seam, and laid it at the foot of the bed I'd made for her 20 minutes after we got home. Mills let me watch a slice of Tessa's interview. When he mentioned the phone sewn into the quilt, she blinked wrong and asked, "How did you get—" Then lawyer. A warrant team hit her house. In the basement, behind a cheap bookshelf, a wall safe. Inside, thumb drives, cash, tidy folders, a ruled notebook labeled in block letters, rules, diagrams for staging a fall, lists for moving a body, bullet points for laundering donations. On a drive, monologues Tessa had filmed herself. "If you're seeing this," she said in a flat voice to her own lens, "I miscalculated. Weakness sank the others. It won't sink me." Colin decided not to die in prison. He flipped and recited like a timetable. Tessa meets Hannah at the hospital, plays rescuer, fakes her own pregnancy with loose scrubs and a heating pad, takes Hannah home to recover, drugs her, calls Colin, drives to the lot. A rock, a shovel, cash, silence. 2 months later, Daniel alone at 2:45, Tessa signals, now, she grips his arms, Colin shoves, EMTs write, fall, insurance pays, wire lands. One loose end, Andre, a lab tech who dated Hannah, goes off a rain-slick road with Tessa coincidentally behind him. By the end of the week, the DA drafted charges. Mills told me to expect reporters and not to feed them. I taped a note to my door. No comment. Door cam live. I sharpened my pencil for the custody judge. I set 2 plates for breakfast and showed Lily how to crack an egg with 1 clean tap. You want the whole mess in one breath? Quilt, seam, phone, screenshots, neighbor, birth line that didn't match, news archive, lot deed, autopsy, TSA call, small child in a county room, a safe behind a shelf, a notebook of rules, a man who finally told the truth. That's part 1. The machine is awake. Next, we turn the gears. Part 2. Turning the gears. By sunrise, we moved from rescue to lockdown. I swapped the front door screws for 3-inch, added a brace bar, and mounted a second camera over the side gate. Ruth labeled folders: criminal, civil, custody, media. We cloned the phone's contents to 2 encrypted drives. one in my freezer under a bag of peas, one in Ruth's flour bin. Detective Mills called at 8:12. Arraignment at 10. Protective order hearing at noon. You'll testify 5 minutes, tops. I dress like a spreadsheet. Gray jacket, flat shoes, no jewelry. Lily ate toast, then packed 3 crayons, a plastic horse, and asked if the courthouse had snacks. It has rules, I said. We'll bring our own. Tessa came in shackled, eyes forward, hair smoothed like she still believed mirrors could fix felonies. Charges read: murder, fraud, tampering, kidnapping. She pled not guilty without a blink. The judge set no bail. Column of deputies. Door swing. Gone. At the protection hearing, her attorney tried a swerve. My client has deep ties. The grandmother is antagonistic and may alienate the child. Mills slid the rules notebook and the airport photos across to the clerk. I said 10 sentences. Dates, items, who saw what. The judge signed a stay-away order that covered me, Ruth, and Lily's school, future, unknown. We stepped into the hallway and met the next problem. Tessa's parents, Cheryl and Boyd, polished like real estate listings. We'll be taking Lily, Cheryl announced, offering a brittle smile that never reached her eyes. Family should be with family. File a motion, I said, and don't talk to my granddaughter. Boyd leaned in 1 inch too close. Ruth lifted her phone. Back up, sir. This is recorded and geotagged. They backed up. By 3 o'clock, a process server handed me a petition. Emergency grandparent custody. Monroe v. Whitaker. Ruth laughed once. They filed in the wrong county. We drove to Mills, who took copies, then to my lawyer, public defender overflow, nameplate reading, Ada, civil, who spotted 3 clerical mistakes before finishing her coffee. We'll kill this on venue and insufficiency. Meanwhile, tighten the perimeter. Perimeter meant practical. I gave the school a code phrase. Blue Star. Means only release Lily to me or Ruth. We put her photo and the order on file. I set up a dead man's switch email. If I didn't tap a morning link by 10 a.m., a package of copies and a short video would go to Mills, the DA, and Hannah Reed's listed next of kin from the old article, an aunt in Amarillo. Ruth found her number. I called. Ma'am, I believe your niece had a daughter. She's safe. Silence. Then a rasped. Tell me what to do. First, don't post. Second, save every paper you have with Hannah's name. We'll arrange a call with the detective. That night, a sedan idled at the curb with the headlights off. I clicked the porch speaker. You're on camera. Plate 68, JR. The engine coughed and left. I clipped the timestamp and plate photo to a folder named Tails, and emailed Mills. Next morning, social services did the home check. Eliza arrived with a clipboard and no smiley stickers. I walked her through the plan. Meds locked, knives high, outlet covers, emergency contacts on the fridge, printed routines for school days and sick days. Ruth handed over Lily's vaccination card, dentist info, bedtime list. Eliza nodded like a human metronome, then surprised me. Most people argue. You installed a system. Systems beat speeches, I said. She wrote that down. Court again. Boyd and Cheryl's emergency motion. Their lawyer tried to paint me as obstructive. Our turn. Venue wrong, standing thin, safety order active, child stable, school enrolled, pediatrician scheduled, kinship placement already functioning. The judge dismissed without prejudice. Cheryl hissed. Boyd whispered something about buying a better lawyer. Ruth raised one eyebrow. Buy a map. You're still in the wrong courthouse. We met Mills after. He had two updates. One, forensic accountants tracked the donations through 3 shells to a cashier's check deposited by Cheryl Monroe 2 years ago. 2, the sedan from last night belonged to a cousin of Colin's. "We'll knock on that door," he said. "Expect one more stupid stunt before they realize the ground is lava." The stunt arrived at 2:07 a.m. A thump at the side gate, then the squeal of metal. My phone lit up with motion. I hit the siren from the app and shouted through the speaker, "Police are en route. You're recorded." A figure in a hoodie froze, then bolted. Ruth, already in sneakers, stepped onto her porch with a flashlight and read the hoodie's back print into my mic. Mills's patrol car rolled our block 9 minutes later. We handed over the clip, the timestamp, the plate we'd caught as he sped off. By breakfast, Mills texted, "Cousin ID'd. In custody. Says Boyd paid him $500 to spook the old lady." I forwarded that to our civil lawyer. She filed a contempt motion against Cheryl and Boyd for violating the protection order through agents. Noon hearing. The judge's patience evaporated. You will not contact, surveil, hire, or send anyone near this child or her guardians. Next infraction earns jail. Hammer down. Sheriff's deputy took Boyd by the elbow for booking on the inducement count. Cheryl went gray. Lily's world stayed small by design. School, park, library. She drew sunflowers and asked why the house had so many doorbells. "Because ours work," I said. She snorted, unconcerned, and went back to coloring. We kept pushing levers. Mills secured a court order for DNA. Lily to Hannah's aunt. Swabs done in a clinic with windows like aquariums. Results promised in a week. Our civil lawyer filed for long-term guardianship with a conversion to adoption pending the criminal case and paternity research. The DA slotted trial dates. Colin's plea hearing set for Friday. A hospital compliance officer emailed that the board wanted to see me. Quietly. I wore the same gray jacket and brought a 1-page brief with bullet points and account numbers. They opened an internal probe before I hit the parking lot. That evening, I took the quilts from the cedar chest, the old mint green one I'd repaired, and a new yellow throw Ruth found at a church sale. I marked them with tiny stitches in different corners. 1 dot, 2 dots, so a stranger couldn't swap them without me knowing. Then I printed a new sheet for the fridge. If then. If doorbell after 8 p.m. Then. No answer. Call Ruth. Alert Mills. If. Unknown car parked 2 nights. Then. Plate photo. Email. Tails. If. Official at door. Then. Ask for name, badge, agency, call desk to verify. If. I'm late to school pickup by 20 minutes. Then. Office uses Blue Star and calls Ruth first. No sermons. Steps. Quiet house. Cameras humming. Paper in the right binders. The machine stayed fed. On Friday, the cousin flipped. On Saturday, Cheryl's cashier's check became a signature card with her driver's license on a bank camera still. On Sunday, Hannah's aunt texted a single line after church. "I'm ready to testify." By Monday, even the mirror in Tessa's cell couldn't help her. The gears had teeth now, and teeth don't let go. Part 3. Paper beats theater. DNA landed first. Text from the clinic. Probability of kinship. Hannah's aunt, Lily, 99.994%. I printed 3 copies, slid 1 to Mills, 1 to the DA, 1 to our civil lawyer. Guardianship hearing moved from temporary to strong. Venue packed with looky-loos and 2 reporters. I wore the gray jacket and brought a one-page timeline with exhibits stapled in order. The judge glanced, nodded, and read the findings into the record. Biological kin confirmed. Danger from maternal in-laws documented. Child stable with me. Permanent guardianship granted pending adoption. Cheryl whispered, "Appeal." The judge said, without looking up, "You can, and you'll lose." Tessa tried a new angle from jail, a grievance that my interference contaminated evidence. Mills answered with chain of custody logs and photos of the quilt bagged at my house with timestamps. Then the labs sealed intake. Grievance denied. The hospital board met me in a side room off their chapel. Compliance rolled a cart of binders, patient donation records, nurse access logs, narcotics dispenses. I didn't need all the pages. I circled 3 dates, matched them to Tessa's night shifts, and a cash withdrawal that hit Cheryl's account within 48 hours. The board chair closed the binder. "We'll cooperate fully with law enforcement." Good. I handed him the DA's contact card. Media arrived next. A blogger ran a piece with my house in the banner and the caption, "Vengeful Grandma." Ruth filed a takedown. I filed an anti-harassment petition with screenshots. The link vanished by dinner. Colin pled, 30 to life, concurrent if he delivered everything: routes, timestamps, burner numbers, shovel purchase, even which big box aisle. He did. Mills mapped the statements onto cell pings and store cams. The picture clicked. The DA added counts: conspiracy, tampering with a corpse, adoption fraud. Cheryl posted a letter to the school PTA accusing me of withholding a child from her rightful family. I printed it, highlighted the line that violated the order, and handed it to the clerk. Contempt hearing at 3 p.m. The judge gave her a suspended 10 days and a $1,000 fine, payable to the court's Child Advocacy Fund. "One more toe over the line, Mrs. Monroe, and you'll decorate my jail." We kept the house tight. New rule on the fridge: if social media tags our street, then change pickup route. Meet in office only. I taught Lily to say, "I don't do surprises," when strangers offered anything. She practiced on me, then laughed. Search warrant number 2 hit Tessa's storage unit. Behind a mattress and a cracked mirror, a banker's box labeled tax. Inside, nothing tax. Thumb drives, Polaroids, a cheap spiral notebook with a table of contents. Falls, roads, donations, babies. The babies tab was 1 page. A list of pregnant patient initials with notes like alone, young, movable, and dates beside each. My stomach didn't flip. It filed. I photographed, Bates stamped, forwarded to Mills and the DA. They called 2 families that same night. Both women were alive. Both remembered Tessa as helpful, and both had signature irregularities on consent forms. The case widened. Tessa's counsel filed to suppress the safe videos as unlawful search. The DA showed the warrant, the key recovered from Tessa's sock drawer during booking, and the storage lease in her name. Motion denied. Another motion claimed the quilt search violated privacy. The judge looked over her glasses. The defendant threw the quilt in a public bin. Expectation of privacy: none. Boyd made bail on the inducement charge and tried a classic, "Let's talk off the record." He caught me at the grocery freezer case, fingers on a bag of peas. "Name a number," he said. Ruth's phone was already up. "You're recorded," I said. "Leave." He didn't. I pointed at the ceiling dome. "Store security cam." He left. We emailed Mills the clip and the timestamp. The judge revoked his bail the next morning. School life stayed normal on purpose. Field day, library cards, a class pet that smelled like old lettuce. At night, we ran a quiet drill. Lights out, 2 breaths, count to 30, name where the exits are, call my number from Lily's memory. She beat my time by the 3rd try and asked for a sticker. Ruth produced a sheet of gold stars like a magician. Grand jury convened. I gave them 20 minutes. Quilt, phone, DNA, wired money, exhumation findings, storage box index. No adjectives. When I finished, a juror asked, "How did you know to keep so much paper?" "Because Tessa thought theater wins," I said. "Paper does." True bill on every count. Adoption path opened once the aunt's affidavit filed. We met at a diner off Route 19. Strong coffee, cracked vinyl booths. She slid a battered photo of Hannah across the table and said, "She hummed when she chopped onions." I slid a consent packet back and said, "I'll keep her last name. She'll know." We signed with a notary who smelled like copier toner. Outside, she hugged Lily and whispered, "Your mama was brave." Lily nodded like she already knew. 2 weird days. An anonymous CPS call. Unsafe clutter. Medication unattended. Eliza showed unannounced. I opened the locked med box, pointed at the tidy hall, handed her the checklists. She took photos, closed the case on the spot, and flagged the call as retaliatory. Then a mailbox bomb. Figurative. A thick envelope from Tessa's lawyer with settlement discussion on the cover. Inside, nothing but proposed mutual non-disparagement. I sharpied Kakweis. Declined. Across the first page and mailed it back. Trial prep turned into a grid on our dining table. Witnesses in rows, exhibits in columns, check marks appearing like stitches. The DA wanted me concise. I promised 180 seconds and wrote my 10 lines on an index card. Who I am, what I saw, what I opened, what I found, where I took it, who took custody, what the results showed. I practiced until the card bored me. On the eve of trial, Mills swung by with 2 plastic tubs. "Disclosure copies," he said. "Everything the defense gets to see anyway." We stacked them in the hall closet behind the vacuum. He paused at the door. "Anything else you need?" "Yes," I said. "A fresh ink ribbon for the stamp?" He laughed. "You're lethal." That night I slept between 2 quilts, the old green, the new yellow, with my phone face down and the house in order. Not a prayer or a speech, just a list for morning. Wake 6:10, coffee, check cams, lunchbox, 2 granola bars, court folder, A, exhibits 112, call Ruth from the parking garage, text Blue Star to school on arrival. No drama. Steps. Tomorrow we'd switch on the courtroom lights. The rest would be paperwork and gravity. Part 4. Lights on, no music. Courtroom 4B smelled like floor wax and old paper. I set my folder on the witness shelf by 8:55, index card tucked inside. The bailiff called, the judge took the bench, and 12 strangers looked anywhere but at Tessa. She wore beige and a stare you could shelve books on. Openings were fast. D.A. Hernandez gave the spine. Quilt, phone, money, safe. Defense tried poetry, grief, misunderstanding, vendetta. The judge clipped him at the 3rd metaphor. Facts, counselor. Chain of custody marched first. Eliza from family services, the lab tech, the property clerk. Dates, times, signatures. Every seal shown to the jury like communion. Then Mills. Calm voice, shoes that didn't squeak, map on a screen. Cell pings, store cameras, ATM withdrawals, flight alerts. He clicked the scrub lot parcel, and the owner's shell company popped beside Colin's name. The jurors leaned in. My name was called at 11:07. I took the oath, sat, slid the folder open, and put the index card on the wood where I could see it without looking like I needed it. State your name. May Whitaker. Relation to the decedent? Mother. Tell the jury what you saw on the curb. Black contractor bag, yellow quilt sticking out. I lifted the lid, took the quilt, went home. No adjectives. We moved like a diagram. Wrong seam, snips, the phone, gallery dates, messages to C, the note, Tuesday 2:45, the insurance screenshots, the wire to Colin Price. I pointed only when asked. Hernandez pressed a remote. The screen showed the photos and message timestamps. I named the app. The jurors wrote. Cross came with teeth. Mrs. Whitaker, you hate my client. You went digging to hurt her. I went cutting to find a hard rectangle sewn into my granddaughter's quilt. You're not a technician. No. So you could have altered the phone. Chain of custody started in my kitchen on video. Your exhibit, C12. He flipped, found the page, paused, recovered. You pressured a child into statements. I asked Lily what she wanted for lunch. He tried an ambush. Isn't it true you once threatened to take Lily out of state? Hernandez said, objection, foundation. The judge. Sustained. Move on. He moved on, smaller. Lunch break. In the hallway, Boyd, freshly rearrested and in a suit he didn't deserve, muttered, You cost me a business. Ruth appeared like a lighthouse. Cameras on, she said, pointing at the red LED above the elevators. A deputy drifted our way. Boyd found the exit. Back in 4B, the safe videos rolled. Tessa, centered, good light, the kind of confidence that lands you on hiring posters. If you're seeing this, I miscalculated. No tears, no tremor. Rows 2 and 3 stopped blinking. The defense objected to prejudice. The judge said, relevant is not always polite. Overruled. Colin limped to the stand in County Orange, deal inked, eyes on the wood grain. He spoke like a foreman reading a job ticket. 2-man carry. She grabbed his arms. I shoved where the ribs meet the rail. We went out the back. I drove her car to the lot. She had the rock. She told me which spigot to wash at, so the cameras faced the dumpster. No flourish. Hernandez handed him the shovel receipt with the date circled in red. He nodded once. Defense tried to paint him as the mastermind. He blinked at the jury and said, I couldn't mastermind a grocery list. A laugh escaped row 4. The judge rapped the gavel once. Order held. Hospital compliance took 20 minutes. Drug logs, badge swipes, donation reroutes. Then the DNA analyst. 2 charts, 1 sentence. The probability Lily is the niece of Alice Reed, Hannah's aunt, is 99.994%. The jurors' pens moved in unison. Last witness of the day, Detective Mills again. Wrap-up. He threaded the burn phones to the scrub lot, the storage lease to the locker, the key to the safe, the cash to 3 accounts that never reached the hospital fund. He finished with the airport stop. 2 tickets out, 2 false passports, $397,200 in bundled cash. The child was removed safely. He said it like noting weather. The defense started a suppression mini-drama at 4:15. Quilt and curtilage. Expectation of privacy. Fruit of poisonous tree. The judge cut him with a paragraph. The defendant placed the item in municipal garbage for pickup. That cuts your tree at the root, counsel. Denied. We adjourned at 4:32. Lily texted Blue Star to my phone from the after-school tablet like we'd planned. I texted back Gold Star. Ruth drove us home past a news van parked a street over. Our new route worked. Day 2 opened with the exhumation pathologist. Bruises on Daniel's wrists measured on a blown-up photo, finger width, consistent with restraint. The defense suggested he fell grabbing the rail. The doctor said, "These are circumferential. Rails don't have hands." Jurors didn't look away. Then the hospital aunties, the 2 women from the storage notebook. Both alive, both remembering Tessa as helpful. One described a consent form she never signed. Handwriting analysts showed it wasn't hers. The defense withdrew an objection before it landed. At 2:05, Hernandez rested. The defense called a psychologist who'd never evaluated anyone but was ready to say, Munchausen by proxy of grief. The judge let 3 questions and then excused him for lack of foundation. Next, they called Tessa's sister, Cheryl. Hernandez asked one thing. "Did you write this PTA letter while under a court order not to contact the child's school?" "Exhibit up." Cheryl blushed and sat down. Defense rested in a shrug. Closings tomorrow. The judge sent the jury home with the standard. No talking, no reading, no Googling. They filed out past the exhibit cart like tourists leaving a museum. In the quiet hallway, Mills handed me a single sheet. "Final witness list for morning," he said. "You're not on it." "Good," I said. "Bring the quilts anyway." "I will." We went home the long way, cut behind the church, past the hardware store where Colin bought his shovel. Lily pointed at the window display and asked about sandpaper. I told her grit numbers while we waited for the crosswalk light. Routine is armor. Night drill. Lights out. 2 breaths. Count to 30. She beat me again. We stuck a gold star on the fridge. I laid the green and yellow quilts on the foot of my bed, set 2 alarm clocks, and placed the court folder A where my hand would find it at 6:10. No finale yet. Tomorrow, we argue. Then 12 people do math. The only thing left to do tonight was check the cams, charge the phone, and sleep. Paper would carry the weight in the morning. Part 5. Verdict Math. By 8:40, the galleries were full, air-sharp with coffee lids and whisper rules. Hernandez stood at the rail, yellow pad folded once. "You already know the story," she told the jury. "Now count it. 4 beats. Quilt, phone, money, safe. Don't let volume drown arithmetic." She pointed at timestamps, pings, wires, the shovel receipt. "Dates don't grieve. They align." She sat. Defense tried fog. Widow anger, boyfriend lies, police pressure, a phone anyone could plant. He circled, reached for poetry. The judge's eyebrows said, "Hurry." He closed on, "Doubt you can touch." No one reached. The bailiff swore the alternates and sent the 12 out at 10:11. We exhaled. Ruth threaded me a peppermint and a pen cap, so I had something to hold that wasn't my hands. Mills checked his watch, then checked nothing else. At 12:04, light blinked over the jury door. Fast. We stood. The foreman passed the envelopes forward. The clerk read, Count 1, murder of Daniel Whitaker, guilty. Count 2, murder of Hannah Reed, guilty. Count 3, murder of Andre Wallace, guilty. Counts 4 through 6, homicide and financial exploitation of vulnerable adults, guilty. Count 7, attempted flight, falsified documents, guilty. No sound, then a single scrape of a chair on tile. Tessa didn't move. Beige suit, dry eyes, hands flat like a catalog photo. Sentencing slid in after impact statements. I read 3 sentences. No tremor. Daniel built the crib. Hannah's aunt brings sunflowers. Lily sleeps through storms now. The judge stacked life terms like bricks and barred parole. You built systems around harm, he said. You'll live inside one now. The gavel fell. Cameras hummed outside. We took the side stair. Downstairs, Mills signed the last property release. Go get your girl, he said. Guardianship hearings at 2. Family court was a different planet. Softer carpet, crayon drawings, a fish tank with a tired pleco. The judge read the investigator's report, asked me 3 questions, asked Lily one, "Do you feel safe with May?" "Yes," she said. Then quietly, "She labels the lights." The judge smiled. Permanent guardianship granted. We celebrated with drive-through fries and a car wash. Lily called the colored foam meteor shower. Ruth filmed it, then deleted it. Habit. The next week was paperwork and locksmiths. We closed Daniel's house, inventoried every box with a Sharpie, logged serial numbers, donated what didn't hold a story. I phoned Hannah's aunt, Alice. We met at a diner off Route 6. I slid a copy of the order across. She slid a photo back. Hannah at 19, laughing off camera. "I'll send birthday cards," Alice said. "No surprise visits." "Deal," I said. Boundaries are mercy when they're clear. I taught Lily drill things because drills work. 2 neighbors, 2 exits, 3 numbers to call, 1 phrase if anyone says, "I'm here for you," all contact through counsel. Then the door closes. She practiced with Ruth in the yard. They took turns being suspicious and being a wall. News vans thinned. The hospital posted a compliance memo and an apology. Donations rerouted to the right account. The aunties in 3C got their money back. Ruth balanced their checkbook with a ruler and a teacup. One afternoon, a letter arrived from county. "Colin, block print." I told it. "I'll carry mine." I filed it under "Do not reply." A month later, another envelope. Tessa's scrawl returned to sender. We kept it that way. I replaced the back door glass with laminated, the hinges with security screws, the porch bulbs with motion LEDs. We labeled drawers, bandages, flashlights, proof. The safe got a new combo Lily memorized with a song. She can open it faster than I can. On a clear Saturday, we drove to 2 headstones. Lilies for Daniel, white asters for Hannah. We didn't speech. Lily set the flowers level, brushed grit from the names, and tightened the twine herself. On the way home, she asked about torque wrenches. I told her inch pounds and foot pounds while the light turned green. School called about a family unit project. We printed 3 photos: Daniel with a hammer, Hannah with sunflowers, Lily on her bike. Lily glued them on one page and wrote, "Family, people who show up and sign things." Her teacher sent a smiley email. We added it to the safe. Exhibit, normal. At night, quiet returned like muscle memory. 2 breaths, lights out, hallway LED set to low. The quilts share the footboard, yellow on top, mint under. I still check the cameras once, then fix a tea I never finish. Routine, then sleep. If you're looking for fireworks, we used fuses. Wrong seam. Old phone. Screenshots. A neighbor with a legal pad. A detective who kept to the clock. A judge who prized arithmetic over adjectives. 12 people who measured instead of myth-making. That's how you end a storm without lightning, by turning on every switch in the house and counting aloud. Tomorrow we start a different job. Preschool forms, dentist, piano at 4 if she likes it. No pressure. I'll teach her to chart like a nurse and keep records like a clerk. She'll teach me TikTok I won't post. We'll argue about broccoli and win in shifts. Before lights out, Lily asked, "Keep both quilts?" "Both," I said. One to remember where the seam was wrong. One to prove it isn't now. She tucked the mint under her chin, left the yellow folded neat. The house breathed. No alarms chirped. Paper held. That's the math. Part 6. Aftercare, not aftermath. Verdict day didn't end the work. It changed the checklist. First thing Monday, Mills's email landed. Notice of appeal filed. Not a surprise. We answered with a triangle. DA Appellate Unit, Victim Services, our own file labeled Appeal, Do Not Panic. Ruth added tabs, transcripts ordered, exhibits duplicated, deadlines in red. Civil court spun up next. Restitution hearing, forfeiture, hospital refunds. Hernandez's colleague walked us through liens and clawbacks. We traced $397 and $200 from the airport to 3 cashiers' checks. The judge diverted them to victims and the hospital fund. The aunties from 3C signed receipts with steady hands. I met with the hospital board in a glass room that smelled like lemon cleaner. Compliance read numbers. I read names. Do the audit yourselves or the Attorney General will, I said. They hired an outside firm within a week, posted a reporting portal, and replaced badge readers that logged helpful nurses as ghosts. We built our own systems. I turned my dining table into an intake desk twice a week. We called it Quilt Line. Ruth printed cards. We didn't promise miracles. We promised lists, proxies, powers of attorney, safe words, camera placement, how to request records without tipping anyone off. I kept a bin of spare chargers and a laminator that never cooled. Word traveled quiet. 2 grandmothers from across town brought envelopes and questions. We made them leave with folders and scripts. Tessa's orbit twitched. A man with sunglasses waited 2 afternoons on the shoulder near our block, pretending to check emails. Ruth took a photo, texted it to Mills. He ran the plate. Private investigator, hired by a concerned relative. I printed a single page and taped it inside the glass storm door. All contact through counsel. You are recorded. The sedan stopped visiting. Lily had a school lockdown drill that week. She came home steady and asked for a label maker lesson instead of talking it out. We marked the breaker box, the window latches, the drawer with passports and the court orders. She timed herself from bed to safe and back. 22 seconds, then 19. Appeal briefing landed with citations and Latin. The DA's reply landed harder. Videos authenticated. Chain intact. Seizure lawful. Voluntariness established. Evidence overwhelming even without the quilt. I didn't read the law words twice. I read the dates twice. Dates still aligned. Mills called about a loose end. A retired orderly remembered the helpful nurse trading coverage for favors. He set up interviews, found 2 more odd deaths that never should have been unwitnessed. The AG folded them into a wider review. I filed the email under checks. Systems catch up. Geneva and I drove to the scrub lot where Hannah had been found, not for speech, measure and mark. We walked the fence line, counted steps to the road, matched it to the site map from Discovery. Coordinates help when memory tries to blur. We planted 2 native asters at the fence line. Nothing showy, something that spreads by itself. A letter came from the Court of Appeals, affirmed in all respects. No oral argument, no remand. I sent a 1-line text to Mills and Hernandez. Math holds. They sent back a gavel emoji and a period. I took Lily to the DMV to update emergency contacts. We stood in line between a roofer and a kid with a skateboard. She filled the form herself, block letters, no hesitation. At the counter, she said, Guardian, May Whitaker, clean as a bell. The clerk smiled like he'd been waiting to hear someone get a thing right that day. Quilt line picked up. A pastor sent 2 elders with questions about an adult child who kept borrowing deeds. We mapped a plan. Freeze credit, talk to the bank manager with a letter, camera at the porch. A niece arrived with a flip phone and a question about text backups. Ruth pulled a card reader from a drawer and showed her where the timestamps hide. People left with stapled packets, highlighters, and my voice memo template. Who, what, when, where, keep talking. A postcard came from prison with Tessa's name printed by machine and no message. I logged it, scanned it for the file, and dropped it into a manila envelope marked Received. No response. A week later, a counselor from the facility called to request a victim impact addendum for their records. I sent 3 bullet points. No contact. No narrative. No parole. Paper does better than adjectives. Lily took to the Yamaha in the church basement. Scales first, then chords, then a song that stops on a clean 7th. Her teacher assigns practicing logs. She fills them with times and metronome numbers like a tech. On Saturdays, we change smoke detector batteries whether they beep or not. We keep the habit. On a Wednesday, Alice Reed called. "I'm close," she said. "Could I bring sunflowers?" We set terms. 10 minutes on the porch. No names beyond first. No photos. Lily decides about any second visit. She arrived with a paper-wrapped bunch and a nervous laugh. Lily offered ice water and asked about planting. Alice kept to the line. When she left, Lily slipped 1 stem into a jar by the quilts. "We can handle small visits," she said, "with rules." Later, the DA asked if I would speak at a training for rookies on elder-targeting red flags. I brought a bag, the mint scarf, the Ziploc, a dummy phone with a glued-on seam, copies of the first search warrant, and a list titled, "When a Story is Really a Timeline." I told them not to chase speeches, chase receipts, cell pings, doorbell cams. If a grandmother brings you a crazy-sounding story and a labeled folder, cancel your lunch and listen. At night, air cool, windows cracked, the house returned to small sounds. Icebox, water heater, Lily's scale work faint from her room. I slid both quilts to even edges at the footboard. Yellow for the cut seam, mint for the clean one. Cameras green. Documents in order. Appeal stamped shut. Systems on. Not an ending. An operating manual. Tomorrow. Dentist at 9. Ruth's casserole at 6. Quilt line from 2 to 4. 3 new calls. 1 from a number with no name. And the right kind of silence before a voice says, "I found something in a pillow." We'll start again at step 1. Plug it in. Don't scroll alone. Write the date. Breathe. Then cut only where the thread is wrong. Part 7. Sting, Not Story. By spring calls outpaced casseroles. Quilt line hours filled in 10 minutes. A widow with forged quitclaim deeds. A veteran's aunt with courtesy withdrawals. A man showing up at porches flashing a laminated Care Advocate badge and a grin. Same polo as the one who tested our door. Same script. We built a sting the way we build anything. List first. Ruth drafted roles. Mills assigned a liaison. Hernandez cleared it with the AG's elder unit. The widow, Mrs. Pike, agreed to be the decoy if we ran it tight and recorded everything. I set my dining room like a stage. Gray runner, 2 mugs, a silent clock, 3 cameras, door, table, hall. A legal pad with nothing written but the date. No screenplay, just steps. Step 1. Answer the knock. The badge man arrived on time in the uniform, navy polo, khakis, clipboard. He introduced himself as Carl from Senior Pathways, tried to step through me. I let the door stop him at shin level and said the line we teach. All contact through counsel. If you continue, you consent to audio and video. He smiled, the oily kind. We just want to help you keep your home. Mrs. Pike entered from the hall with a walker she didn't need. Sit, she told him, and he did, like a man who'd sat in a lot of living rooms. He flipped forms. Emergency directive, temporary power, advance transfer. All fakes with real notary stamps. He uncapped a pen and spoke low about protecting assets from probate. He slid the emergency directive across. I poured coffee and gave him the mug with the blue dot we'd marked for Prince. He took it with his left hand. Ruth texted, "Print us A," to Mills. We let him talk long enough to capture the pitch. Dizzying acronyms, quick arrows to signature lines, an appointment tomorrow to fix the title. He took a photo of Mrs. Pike's driver's license when she forgot it on the table. Camera 3 caught the angle. Mills's tech would match the XIF to other visits. When he stood to leave, I said, "You forgot your cup." He reached. Ruth, accidentally, bumped his elbow. Coffee on the clipboard, papers reshuffled, fingerprints everywhere. He flinched, apologized, and fled with a promise to send a courier. 10 minutes later, unmarked sedans eased off the block. Mills texted, "Plate belongs to a P.O. Box, LLC. Stay inside." The courier came at dusk. Same polo, different man, same clipboard, a prepaid phone for signing verification. We ran the door line again. He tried force. The deadbolt held. The camera caught it. Patrol rolled in on a soft chirp. Lights off. 2 arrests. Clean as a checklist. The next morning, Hernandez pulled their forms apart like a sweater. The notary stamp was real, borrowed from a cousin in a mail store. The LLC led to a ring that filed deeds at county with forged signatures and sold houses out from under their owners at midnight auctions. Over 6 months, 8 properties gone to cash buyers we'd heard about right after Daniel died. Warrants stacked. County recorder's office opened after hours. We faxed in holds on filings tied to that LLC list. An assistant DA drove filings across town and slept on the floor to catch the morning docket. Judges signed emergency stays in their gym shoes. Before lunch, auction houses froze 3 sales, a bank flagged an escrow, and 2 title insurers called to ask for your playbook. Mills's unit hit a storage locker rented under the courier's name. Inside, printers, seals, stamp kits, and a tub of emergency directives. Hard drives mirrored on site, receipts bagged. In a top bin, a folder labeled Quiet Houses. With addresses and notes like no dog, neighbor deaf, prefers afternoon. We forwarded copies to every precinct captain. Officers started knocking before the polo shirts could. News broke. We didn't give quotes. Quiltline added a 1-pager titled, "If someone says emergency transfer." With boxes. Call recorder. On, sir. Photo badge. No sign, no scan. County clerk, hotline. We taught 3 churches and a barbershop. Barbershop was best. Everyone listens to clippers. Civil court became triage. Hernandez filed to void recorded deeds under fraud and to restore title. The judge grouped cases, fast-tracked hearings, and snarled at defense lawyers who tried to make confused old people their theme. Our witnesses weren't confused. They were organized. They brought tabs. Halfway through, a letter arrived from prison. Machine stamped again. No message. Tessa's name in the sender window like a stain that won't lift. I logged it and dropped it in. Received, no response. She lives in a system now. We run ours. Lily watched the sting footage with Mills in the conference room like a lab. She paused on the badge. "Hologram's wrong," she said. He nodded. "You'd be good at compliance." She shrugged. "Or forensics." She plays scales, labels breaker boxes, and writes out her chem equations in block letters like court exhibits. A kid who measures. We met Hannah's aunt at the county clerk to sign the affidavit correcting Lily's birth record. No speech. The clerk stamped, slid the copy back under glass, and said, "Next." Lily held the paper like a permit. "It matches," she said. "Finally." We filed it in. Proof, identity, and took her for pancakes. 2 weeks later, we sat in a courtroom that looked like it had been built by people who liked straight lines. The ring's leader pled to a stack. Forgery, filing false instruments, attempted grand larceny. He'd been in 3 of the cash buyer emails I'd forwarded after Daniel's verdict. He kept his eyes down while a clerk read addresses that had been nearly ghosts. The judge gave him time that sounded like a weather forecast, long and unavoidable. After, we drove to Mrs. Pike's, screwed her new deadbolt in with 3-inch screws, labeled her file drawer, and set her porch camera to auto-announce. "This property is recorded. All contracts reviewed by counsel." She practiced the door line and laughed when it landed. "Feels like a spell," she said. "It is," Ruth said. "It keeps wolves outside." Night routine again. 2 quilts aligned, cameras green, door sensors quiet. On my desk, a yellow pad with a new header. Sting, next variant. Because rings mutate. Different badges, new scripts, fresh P.O. boxes. We'll adjust. Lists travel faster than fear. Before lights out, Lily asked, "Why do they all think we won't check?" I said, "Because for a long time no one did." She nodded, then grinned. "We do." She slid the mint quilt up to her chin, left the yellow folded neat, and fell asleep mid-scale, metronome still ticking at 72. Systems on. Wolves outside. Paper holds. Part 8. Close the file. The last loose thread wasn't a villain. It was a process. By summer, the quilt line wasn't just my kitchen phone. Mills folded it into the county's elder unit. Hernandez codified our door line into a 1-page advisement officers could read verbatim, and the clerk's office added a red banner to its site. No emergency transfers. Title changes. Require court review. Churches laminated our checklist. The barbershop taped it to the mirror. Wolves hate glass. We did one final audit on our own lives. I boxed Daniel's case into a banker's set. Tabs, chain of custody, verdict, restitution receipts, and slid it into the safe behind the pantry paint. I wrote a cover sheet in block letters. Done. Tessa's last letter came machine-stamped, same as the others. I logged it, marked no response, and filed it under inert. She's a line item in a system. We're not. Lily finished her clinical rotation at the county hospital the week our sting sentences posted. She came home smelling like sanitizer and coffee, handed me a printout. Offer. Forensic Nurse Fellowship. She said it calmly, like a weather report. Then she grinned. We high-fived like teammates. We planned one thing that wasn't on a form. A quiet ceremony, just ours. Ruth brought lemon bars. Mills set his phone to Do Not Disturb and pretended it was broken. Hernandez arrived with a thin blue folder labeled Whitaker Toolkit. Our checklist turned official. Door script, camera angles, evidence triage, county numbers, how to freeze a fraudulent filing. Practical, legible, ruthless. The kind of document that survives meetings. I set 2 quilts on the table. The yellow, the one that started it, freshly laundered, seam resewn in my own hand. The mint one Lily made at 21, tight squares, no pockets for lies. Lily stood with her palm on each, like a notary. We didn't do speeches, we did steps. Step 1, we signed a simple trust for the quilts. If anything happens to me, Lily gets both. If anything happens to her, they go to the county archive with the toolkit and the door line, not for display, for use. Step 2, we shipped a box of Whitaker toolkits to anyone who asked. A nun in Laredo, a pastor in Macon, a union hall in Toledo, a librarian who said she runs the only copier that still takes coins. I wrote a sticky on each. No permission needed. Copy until the toner smokes. Step 3, we went to 2 graves. Daniel's first. I read him the offer letter like a scoreboard. Your girl will measure the world. Then Hannah's. Lily laid a stem and said, your name is right on my record now. She didn't cry. She squared the vase to the stone until it lined up. That's my kid. On the way home, we stopped at the clerk's counter. The woman behind the glass recognized us. I've been using your one-pager, she said. People show up scared. It gives them a voice. She slid a fresh birth certificate copy under the slot without being asked. Frame it, she said. You earned it. Lily tucked it next to the toolkits like it belonged there. The house felt different that night, lighter, like a room after you moved the last crate to the curb. Ruth took a victory lap around my locks with a Phillips and declared us stupid secure. Mills, who never stays, stayed long enough to drink 1 full coffee and say, call if the badge changes. He meant the scam, but also the rest. I walked him to the porch. The camera pinged its soft chime. The sign over the bell read, this property is recorded. Contracts reviewed by counsel. Under it, in smaller type, Ruth insisted we add, be kind anyway. Because not every knock is a wolf. Near midnight, Lily came into my room with the mint quilt draped over her shoulders and the yellow one folded in her arms. Which one tonight? She asked. Both, I said. She laughed. Heavy and light. She spread them like a flag. Tell me the short version, she said, the way she used to when she was small and wanted one more story. So I gave her the shape we always keep. A quilt in a bin, a wrong seam, a phone that didn't lock, a neighbor who knew where to stand, a detective who moved like a metronome, a safe behind a shelf, a deal that dragged truth into daylight, a girl who learned how to sleep without flinching. No heroics, just order. Sew, cut, charge, print, carry, sign, testify, tuck in, repeat. In the morning, she'll start learning the charts that prove a bruise isn't a stumble. She'll take photos that hold up under cross. She'll write notes that read like truth. She'll speak plain. She'll wrap blankets around strangers at 3 a.m. and tell them exactly what happens next. Me? I'll answer a phone that isn't just mine anymore. I'll bake, label, and remind people that door lines are spells and paper beats volume. I'll keep both quilts folded at the foot of the bed, one honest about the rot it revealed, one honest about the warmth it promises, and I'll keep a toolkit by the door, because rings mutate and fear loves silence. If you need a moral, take a tool instead. Secrets rot in cloth. Cut the seam. Say the line. Record the knock. Names over rumors. Dates over stories. Lists travel faster than wolves. And when the worst person you know throws away the only honest thing in her house, climb into the bin and take it back. Wash it. Mend it. Hand the next quilt to a child with nothing hidden inside and everything warm sewn in. Close the file. Leave the light on.